Just think of it as the rough draft of the podcast world. This is the Newbie Writers Podcast with your hosts, Damien Boat and Catherine Bramkamp.
Hey, this is episode 171 of the Newbie Writers Podcast, and we don't have a guest this week. And we're going to be attempting to do, I think, podcast suicide. Really?
I'm going to call it podcast suicide.
We're going to look back and see if we've actually learnt anything over the past 3 years. And, well, I don't know. Have we?
I don't know, but that's what I'm working on. I'm going to create a series of blog posts based on our site, based on our show, and then put it all together in the fall in a book. Yeah. And I'll see how much we've learned. And we'll see how much we can give back to our listeners.
I feel like I'm going to get like a letter home to my mother.
Damien was very cooperative with the other guests.
Yeah. He attended every week. However, his level of output was minimal at best.
He attended every week.
I don't know. I think
some days he phoned it in. What can we say?
Yeah. Well, I phone it in every week. What are you talking about?
That's right. That's right.
Jeez.
Yes, we are phoning it in.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm in such a habit now of being able to do this without really too much research either. I know that sounds really bad, but I think you do a lot of the research, you pull together the notes, and then I just rock up like the court jester and go, right. What's your favorite food?
I think that is contributing, and that's why I'm in charge of writing the book, because I have all the notes. So that totally works for me. But I tried. Remember, about 3 months ago, I started to go through our site. I went through our episodes, like episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, and I got to I think I got all the way to like 50 of them, and I thought, this is not efficient. This is not working. So I'm coming back at it differently. I'm taking apart my book, Don't Write Like You Talk, looking at what I said there and then updating it. And then from there, we'll pull in what we've learned from and had people comment on throughout the last 3 years. And so, not all of our guests will be participating in this, but a lot of them will be. And I think that's what's interesting is we've got a lot of really, we've got Grammar Girl and we've got Success Freaks. And we have all sorts of interesting people who've been on the show. So we're going to quote them and talk about them.
Yeah, I think if anyone that's been listening recognizes that, we may have come a certain way or there's been an interesting point on one of the shows. I know we've had a couple of listeners give us some feedback saying they've discovered the show and they're trying to catch up with them. Excuse me.
Oh, that's cool.
Send us an email, podcast@newbiewriters.com, and we might be able to put, like last week we had Monica Rodriguez, which I got her website wrong, by the way. The real one's on the website. But yeah, saying, if she sent in saying, oh, you guys did this or you talked about this topic, it was really interesting, then we might look into that a bit more and put that in. So... yeah, I would like to see, though, at the end of this book, this piece, that you put, so this is what I feel we've learned, and Damien was there too.
Do you want me to put your name on the front of the book in smaller font? Would that be better?
That'd be amazing. Like really, really tiny.
This little thing, and Damien too. I could just treat you like my little brother. Oh yeah, and him too.
What a cool idea! And then, if I would then have it just printed up. You can do what's that site that you can do this limited run? Like if it's an ebook, you can just print it out.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Yeah, definitely be an ebook, and I might do a few through. I think we'll do it ourselves, and so we'll do it through CreateSpace and Kindle, and then you need to have a real book so that you can have. What I want to is that you have a real book on the shelf with your name on it, and I think that would be cool.
But if it's in tiny lettering, I don't know. I want to be able to say to my mother when she comes around, I go, look, we created a book, and then I'll give her like a little plastic. You get for those Chinese stores, the $2 shops, a little tiny magnifying glass, and hand her the magnifying glass and the book. And she go, "What's the magnifying glass?" I go, "Well, look, my name's there." Yeah.
I am not going to make it that small.
Oh, well, clearly I'm not part of the creative process. No, or we could have, you could do your little spiel and Damien push the buttons.
And Damien pushed the button.
That could have such an overreaching concept of.
Yeah, I don't know. We might get. Well, I don't know. We might get a lot. We might get a lot of people looking at the book saying, "Really, what kind of button did he push?" Let's talk about that.
The no zone button. Anyway, so yes.
So that's my project in between, because I needed something to entertain myself while you and all my other, fabulous beta readers are working on Future Run, and I don't want to work on a book when I'm traveling. So this was a good start, kind of intermediate.
Yes, and look, we were talking about this before in the pre-show stuff, but I'm going to disappoint a lot of listeners because I have started reading Future Run, and it starts off really well.
Yay!
Yeah, it's a little disappointing.
No ranting for you. So sorry. Pull that out from underneath you.
Hey, look, you never know. You might have started off with a bang and it might just go downhill from there. We don't know. I've got to get there yet. But it's unlikely.
So I'll wait. I'll wait and hear from you with bated breath. Well, not bated breath. I needed to work on other things.
And Beth was right. I think, was it when she was on a couple of weeks ago, she said it was like a dark, what did she say? Something along those lines.
Yeah, she said it was dark.
A dark film. And it is. But it does start at nighttime, I think, doesn't it? So
no, it just starts dark.
Yes. So yeah, it's good.
Cool, thank you.
Don't write like we talk. Certainly don't write like me. But yeah, we got a letter the other day from the school. Julian's just started school, so they do all these little things to try and see where children are at if they need catch up. And it was just a general letter saying, look, we're going to have a speech pathologist come and talk to all the kids and find out who needs help. And I just thought of my boy, who is the most, posh, pompous 5.5-year-old you can ever come across. And having a speech pathologist come and go, now, Julian, what have you learned? Well, today I learned. Oh, God. I tell you, he sat down.
You're right. He used to do that when he was like 2, when he was just starting to talk, and he would come up with all sorts of wonderful syntax. And
well,
Daddy, I've been thinking about.
Yeah. Well, my mother was over the other day, and she's English, born and bred sort of thing. And she said to me, what's with Julian? He's so like proper English. I said, I don't know. It doesn't come from me. But yeah, because we were having dinner, and he looked up and he says, Dad. I said, yes. He goes, this is delicious. Thank you.
Oh.
And I'm like, thanks, mate. Now hurry up. But yeah, I just thought, don't write like we talk. He can write as much as he likes, like he talks.
Yes, he can. That is so cute.
So, what do you think we've learned? I know I've learned, I think, to talk a little bit better. I don't know. There's still ums and ahs in there, but it seems to be a little bit more clear.
I think you've always, I think we've definitely improved on the talking, but I have a whole bunch of examples from our guests on what I do, and we have a couple of guests coming up for this. I love being able to say, oh, that looks like a really interesting person to talk to, and contact them and have them on the show and learn something new. I love that.
Yes, I think so. I think it's good that there's so many very different areas of writing. It's good to pick people's brains
and different projects. I've also noticed as I've gone through that the people our guests who are doing writing projects versus some of our just straight out authors of books. So we had a whole series where we had a lot of Rainstorm Press authors come on the show, and we had a lot of when I talked to Brenda Knight of Viva Press. She looked at me, she says, oh, yeah, you need some more authors. I'm going to give you my authors. So they're great to have on, but a lot of them don't have helpful information for a newbie writer, whereas somebody like Nina Amir or Rachel Neighbors or Francis Caballo, they have Betsy Fastbinger. I can't get her second last name, Fastbinger. She should have kept her first name, Gonzalez. I got that one. They have more helpful things to say. And I think that that's interesting as well. So there's the first thing. If you are a newbie writer or you're just now starting with your book and you want to promote your book, you need to have something that's helpful to the readers, not just, oh, I wrote a book and let me tell you all about the book. What else can you tell us? What else is going to be valuable?
Yeah, I agree. And at some level, I think we've learned you can't just write a book in a weekend.
That would be something else we could. Yes, that is exactly right. You cannot write a book in a weekend, or less a good book in a weekend.
No, and I would like anyone that has done that to contact me, because you're full of shit. I don't know. Yeah, I think it takes a lot of dedication, and it's like anything, hobby, profession, whatever. You still need to be somewhat dedicated to it. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Everyone says, "I'd love to write a book one day," and I wonder why. Is it because we feel so self-important? I don't know.
That's interesting. And that goes along with. I read an interesting statistic. It was right during the Academy Awards, where let's say 70% of the American population has practiced their Academy Award acceptance speech.
Right.
Okay. However, only like 15, 20% of Americans could tell you what category they quote won in. So and I think that's true for, I think books are like that, where you are surrounded by books, or you had to read them in school, however, whatever relationship you have with them as items. The average person would say, oh, I've always wanted to write one of those. It's almost like, oh, I've always wanted to be a movie star. It's in that category.
Yeah, it is. But I don't know. And it varies too. Some people they say, oh, I've always wanted to write a book. And you say, why? Like, oh, well, I've got this idea, I've got this story, or I lead an interesting life. No, you don't. But you know, there's that angle. Then there's, well, it seems that, with the advent of self-publishing, you can just get it out there and make lots of money. Wrong.
Oh, you see, yeah.
There we go.
I can't even say that with a straight face.
Yeah, that's what I've learned over the last 3 years, is that there's no quick fix, and you certainly don't make a lot of money from it, put it that way.
Nope.
So,
but we do get even.
On who?
On anybody you want. Just put them in the book. I've done it.
Yeah, this is true. I don't know. For me, it's obviously, it drives me to write. There's a big guilt factor with this show. You kind of think, well, if I'm hosting something, I probably should do something. But yeah, it just doesn't come out as quickly as you like. I think there is that thing of, we are such what's the term? We want things now.
Yeah, impatient. We're very impatient.
That's it. So, you're lying in the bath, you're having a shower, you're driving to work, and you think, oh, that'd make a good idea. That's a good idea for a book. I know what, I'll go and do that. And so you think about it all day while you're at work, and then you come home and you sit down with a cup of coffee or a beer and you start to type, and you get like 5 pages in, you're like, shit. So I might Google, how long is a book? So then you go, oh, so the average is 70,000 words. Oh, how many have I done? Oh, 900 words. Oh, we've all been there. I've done it.
Yeah. I even have to say, when I started making the notes for Don't Write Like We Talk, our book, I looked at, I did the stats, like the first run, it's like, 5,000 words. Got a few to go.
Yeah. And
we all do that. Well, and if you do National Novel Writing Month, it's 50,000 words in a month. Yeah. And so you get used to doing that count and saying, all right, I can. And that's, of course, the way to do it, is start backwards. You got to do 50,000, 70,000 page book, or word book, then back it up and say, well, how much do I need to do when I sit down with my beer after work?
Yes, but then there's also the thing that, and I do this a bit, you can be typing away, you're in your zone, then you get that sort of like, oh, I need to move sort of feel. You get up, go to the toilet, get a drink, come back, and you think, I've been doing this for like an hour now. How many words have I written? Must be a
Yeah.
heap. Oh, right. 600.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Oh.
yeah,
Yeah.
it can be quite grueling, and that's not. I mean, that's just what it is. And I think that I hope in what we tell people as we move through the podcast to not lose heart and to find ways of making it okay and find ways of saying, this is all right. It does take a while. Don't freak out. Just go and just move forward with it. If it's worth moving forward, I would just talk to a young man who wanted to meet with me and find out, is he on the right track? And when he started to talk about his project, I've been doing this enough so I can hear it. So he starts talking about the project. He says, I have been thinking and working on this for like 5 years, and it doesn't leave me, and I need to get this out. And he had the right language for what he was doing. And he did not tell me the plot. He did not give me a whole rundown of how great it is or why it should be a movie. Yeah. He just gave me this, I just need to do this. I've got, and I think he's already written like a good 60, 70,000 words. So he's got it down. And now he's just like, should I keep doing this? I said, yeah, if you've gone this far. He's got 2 little kids. He's got a full-time job, a new job that he's commuting to. So he says, so we were strategizing about how he could fit that into his life without alienating the children and the wife and, and his new boss. And that's what the goal was. And we talked about the muse and how he needs to show up consistently, and that will help. Those are the kinds of questions that someone who is a quote real writer or somebody who's really into it is asking. And it's not this, let me tell you all about my plot, because those people make you crazy.
Yes. Sorry, I just dropped a pen. It was a resounding thing. I went, yeah. I don't know. Sorry, I've really lost my train of thought now.
That too is what I look for. It's not, the people who have really dug in and say, yeah, I'm going to work on articulating this. It's not for everybody. That's okay too. Maybe you start a book and it's just like I started to, I don't know, let's say I started to knit or I don't know, paint houses or something. It's like, oh, this is not for me. That's okay.
Yeah. And, for me, it just becomes, it's more now of a frustration thing. Because like that gentleman, he's got kids, wife, full-time job, whatever. But I think it also comes down to what type of job you have. So if you do have a predominantly desk job, and that's not to belittle it, but a lot of our guests will come in and say, well, I could do this at lunchtime or in my lunch break or, and someone will be like, well, when I was working on my thing, if I found a spare 10 minutes, I'd have it up on the other screen or my little laptop or something. Someone like me, I can't do that, and that's what the frustration thing is. I can be on my own in a quiet space and just doing my thing on autopilot, but I can't be typing while on the top step of a 12-foot ladder.
Nope.
How weird would that be if I've got like a laptop in one crook of my arm and I'm pulling a cable with the other going, just a minute, mate. I need to finish this chapter.
I try not to fall.
So, yeah. I then come home exhausted going, cool, look at the 80 emails I've got to deal with tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I crawl into bed going, I need to write this down. This is annoying me. When can I do it?
Right.
Beep, beep, beep. Oh, what's that? The alarm. So, yeah.
And maybe because let's talk about that, because that's the real world, and I just was having an hour-long conversation about the real world, and there are there's writers like J.K. Rowling who took her little, she had one of her children, and the child wasn't moving around. That's always helpful. And taking the child to the pub because there's heat at the pub, and she couldn't afford heat at her house. Put the baby down at her feet, and then started writing, Harry Potter. Great escape. Noisy pub sometimes can be an excellent. A noisy pub, noisy coffee shop can be a great place to write because the ambient noise is so loud that it's easier to concentrate, ironically. That's her story. But maybe you look at your whole life and you say, I can't I can't fit this in. I don't have the bandwidth for it. And so you don't do it for a couple of years. Maybe you make some notes every once in a while, and then you just say, I know that once I get to, point A, or the child is going to kindergarten or first grade, then I'm going to have a little bit more space to write. And that's okay. I had this guy write because he was trying to figure out when to do it. And I said, do your boys watch cartoons on Saturday morning? And he kind of looked at me sheepishly and says, yes. And I said, hey, if you don't know the words to SpongeBob SquarePants, then you're not a parent. I said, write when they're watching cartoons. First of all, it's okay for them to spend a little time in front of the TV. No one's died yet.
Yes.
And second of all, that gives you an hour. Think about that. If you can write during 2 back-to-back episodes of SpongeBob, you're good to go. That's a half an hour up to an hour of work. That's a lot of work for a working parent. Why not? And he did it. He came back. He emailed me back and he said, oh my gosh, I wrote while they were watching cartoons on Saturday and it worked out beautifully. All he has to do is make it a habit.
Right. Well, it's 10 to 9 on a Saturday morning for me. My lad is watching.
And you're doing this. So
yes.
Sorry.
My lad's watching YouTube and has been since 6:30 this morning. And I'm doing this. So that can be my very, very poor excuse. Like the dog ate my homework. It's like, well, I was podcasting. I could not do any writing. But I talked about it.
There you go. Well, that's the start.
Yeah. What I found, I listen back to each show, and it's not an ego thing, but I have to listen to it because I find mistakes in it. I know we're the rough draft of the podcast world, but yes, like that other week where I went, oh crap, there's backing music on that's too loud and you can't hear me talking or anyone talking.
Yeah.
But listening to Luke, it was interesting when he said, every gamer at some point has written a story based on their character in a game.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like the, Oscar acceptance speech. Everyone's done it. And it's true. And I thought, holy crap, I did the same thing. I'm a gamer. I wrote a piece and it was terrible. And he said, I wrote one, it was terrible and didn't see the light of day sort of thing. That's where my mistake is because I actually submitted mine for a competition and it never really got anywhere. And I think I read a little bit out on this show early on. And
I think we'll bring out your dad.
Yeah. And just went, holy crap, this is not even readable.
But it's a start. I mean, that's how E.L. James got started. That 50 Shades of Grey came from fan fiction from Twilight.
And it's not readable.
No. So there you go. She just proves the rule.
We don't discuss that in this house anymore because we have a certain fan of it in the house. But anyway. Terrible. So, yeah, I don't know. I think I've definitely, I'm happy with, what I've written since that. I think it is good to get that real rubbish out.
Yes.
And to know that, if you've got that crazy idea, I'm going to write a book, blah, 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 that it's going to be shit.
It doesn't necessarily have to be, but it's good to get it out. And then maybe you look at the crazy, crappy book that you wrote or the draft that you wrote, or you wrote 30,000 words that are pointless and worthless, which I have done. And then you say, all right, none of this is working, but this paragraph, this character is interesting. So now I'm going to go work on that. So I see the writing as building on itself. So you write something really crummy, and then you take a little bit out of that and you write it a little better. Then you take something out of that, maybe more, and then you write a little bit more from the better piece. So you just keep training yourself, because the only way, and I tell this to my students, this is the only way you get better at writing is to write. And they hate that. They're like, really? Do we have to write? I said, okay, what part of critical thinking and writing did you miss?
Yeah. Aww.
I don't know what you're thinking, so you have to write it so I can tell.
Well, the other thing I think I've learned is that, I've picked up a lot of good friends, I think, through this show. And
yeah, you have. Yeah.
Some of them, like Dion Lister, for example, she's a bad person because, no, bringing our show down with roosters. No, as an editor, she's very good. I can send her bits and pieces and I'll get stuff back. It's very constructive. But then she'll say to me, you sent me something a while back. What's happening with, that story concept. I'm like, oh, it didn't work out. It was
very
rubbish.
good.
And she'll go, yeah, but that was actually quite good. Oh, God,
Ha.
curse you. Thank you.
I ignored it. Oh, darn it.
I think I deleted that. Like, what for? So, yes, I cop crap from her all the time. So, you need people like that as well. You need friends, I think, that will just sort of turn around and go, you were doing something a while ago, or how's that going, to drive you along? And you then get those guilt, go, well, I haven't done anything. I go, why not?
That's what I like about the beta readers who I have, because they all are friends, where they say, hey, have you thought, what about this? How is this doing? And that's all you need sometimes as a writer, or, hang out with a small group of writers and get that kind of feedback. It's like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah. And that's what I have tried to create with newbie writers, is that anyone that's listening can contact me and say, hey, how's it going? Or I've got this idea, or I'm stuck. Help. And then that way we can just sort of throw it back and say, well, only you can write it. Go, shoo. Shoo.
But we can give advice. And we've done that. So we've had people respond, and I hope to get more respond to the blogs as I put them out for Don't Write Like We Talk. And you ask the question, well, what about this? What about that? I'd love to answer the questions. That's what I do professionally. So ask us, and then we've done that. We've done answers on the show, and I like doing that very much.
I think people should try and, abuse you a little bit. I mean, dance, monkey dance, basically. You get free advice from a writing coach and, someone that works at a university teaching this stuff. So I don't know why people wouldn't be. I'm surprised we haven't had anyone go, can you write my book?
I've got that. I actually have a client who managed herself around something. When I was working with her, she's a finance. Worked with people on their portfolios and things. And so she wanted to write a book without writing the book. And at one point she said, well, why can't I just tell you all about what I want to write, and then you write it? And it's like, because I don't do that. And I think it's kind of, the whole ghostwriting thing is it's a gray area for me. I'm not sure how happy I am with that approach on any level for anybody. So I talked with her about a couple months ago, just to connect and say, hey, how you doing? And she says, oh, wonderful. I found this guy, and I just call him up and I tell him about all my ideas, and then he writes it. And I'm like, oh crap, you did. And she's probably paying him like, $15 an hour or something awful. Ghostwriters make no money. In fact, we should need to do a show on ghostwriting. They make this pathetic amount of money, and then someone else gets all the credit. And that bugs me.
It bugs me a little bit too. I don't think that's very honest.
It's not honest at all. And I dislike it. And a way, just here's a little tip, and a way to find out if you have had somebody, if you picked up a book that wasn't really written by, I don't know, Kim Kardashian, let's pick up something. And, because you got to figure that, right? But if you open it up, and in the acknowledgments, if they say, and thank you to, Susie Jones, without your valuable input and editorial help, this book would not exist. Susie wrote it.
Yeah.
Susie wrote it. That's how you can tell. And I start doing that. It's like, okay, well, here's, famous person A. Let's see if they really wrote this book. No.
Yeah.
No, they did not.
I don't know.
And that, for a real writer, for someone who's really trying to make it and wrote all of their words themselves, it's so insulting.
It is a bit, because if you come across someone and you say, oh, you've got a book out. Like, yeah, this guy will write it for you. I think, well, okay. You're just sort of a bit of a fraudster, really. And you can't, I don't know. I can't take it seriously.
I think so. Well, and then you get these, then they go on the talk show and it's like, oh, so you wrote a book, says, Jon Stewart or
Ellen,
Jimmy Fallon, and the star who looks at the cover as if they have just seen it. It's like, yeah, I wrote that. Yeah. Right.
It was just this.
Do you even know what's in it? It's your own bio. Have you thought about that?
Yeah. Yeah. And look, you can get away with the famous people, but it's just the other small timer stuff that I can't. Yeah. I don't know.
I'm not even happy with the famous people. If they're going to do it, then it needs to be not an autobiography. It needs to be a biography. And the poor person who slaved away to do the darn thing needs to have their name on it and needs to help their career, because that's just appalling. And, that goes back to, the very rich just, taking advantage of people who are starving to death and need to write for a living. I just don't believe in it.
If there are any ghostwriters out there, it'd be good to have them on the show.
I'd love to. Yeah.
I
might even seek them out. I'll have to see.
Yeah. I'd like to ask the question of how do they feel when something goes out and it becomes successful, and then they have to keep that quiet? Like, could you imagine if, your mother comes around and says, Catherine, check out this book I've been reading. It's amazing, blah, blah, blah. And then you find out that the person that's been ghostwritten, and that person that's ghostwritten can never, or you've written it. You were the ghostwriter. And you're like, oh, yeah, it's a good book, isn't it? I wrote that. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
So-and-so wrote
have
this.
your name on it, so how could you have written that?
Yeah.
Damn it.
I know, and I've spoken to some, I've come across them before, and they're like, oh, yeah, I'm a ghostwriter for this and that. It's like, really? What have you ghostwritten? I can't tell you. So what's the point in doing it?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. I talked to a gentleman in my my social media class, and he's ghostwriting a book, and he said he needed, it was like a 45-day turnaround. He got 2 interviews with the person whose autobiography he was biographying, and the turnaround was fast, and he had to crank out like 60,000 words in 6 weeks, something really crazy like that. And I said, excuse me for asking, but how much are you making to do this?
Yeah.
And he says $3,000.
Right.
Really? And I'm just like, don't do that. Say no.
Yeah. $3,000.
Yeah, $3,000, and it's a pain in the ass. So it's like, no.
I don't know.
No.
One thing I've learned over the last 3 years is if you're a writer, it doesn't make you an editor. So can those authors that have been authors for 5-6 years, can you stop then saying, oh, I'm also an editor? I don't know. Is that a thing? Is that like a natural progression that a lot of people feel like, well, I've written 3 or 4 books. I know what I'm doing. Yes, I can edit someone else's work now. Is that how it works?
Maybe. I think that writing skills and editing skills are 2 different things. Now I can do, I do content development, but that's different from editing. And I am not an editor per se, because I don't catch everything. I read too fast. And some people have the real skill for editing, and we've had them on, and they're wonderful, and you need to hire them. But I disagree with the idea that, if you're a writer, that automatically makes you an editor or a content development editor, because there's more to it. For what I do, I have a boatload of education and background in what structure looks like, in what books look like. Can I do it for myself? Not at all. That's why I send it out to other people. But for my clients, I can go through and say, okay, you need a story arc. You need to have this. You need to have this. This is the archetype. This is, you need to have some background on that. Not just like, oh, I've written 2 books, so now I know how to do a story. And I don't think that that's quite accurate.
No, just like, so I see it a bit. Usually on social media, when you got someone's profile, it'll be, author of such and such, and editing services.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So.
And I think you need to have, there's got to be some education behind it. We're having a guest on who is a poetry coach, which I thought was like super interesting.
I hope they talk in rhyme.
But he has earned his MFA in poetry specifically. He has 3 poetry books out. He has won contests. He's got some chops. And so I might send him, just like you did when you got yourself murdered for $5. This guest will edit 3 poems for $5. And so I might send mine off and see, I've got a bunch from Poetry Month, so I'm going to send off a couple and see how he helps.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's very important to get an editor who is an editor.
Yes, who is good at editing. And those are hard to find.
I know.
You can go on editor. The best ones are Editors and Predators. You can go and look there.
Yeah, there's a few here in Australia. There's Dion, there's Emma from Exceptional Editing and Proofing.
Right.
And you know that they're good editors when, I kind of catch up with them occasionally. I send them an email, how are you? And they're, I'm so busy.
Good.
I can't keep up. That's what you want. You want to, as annoying as it is, if you send off a manuscript to someone, you don't want to get that back within 3 days. And they go, there you go, I edited it for you. You want to have them say, well, I'm booked up for the next month, then I can get to yours.
Yeah,
Maybe. I think so. Well,
sometimes I get lucky, and I can take on clients in between things, and I tell them that's like a lucky you.
yeah. But
Not in between something.
I've said this, in my industry, when a client will complain to me and say, well, when can you come in and do this? Like, well, not for a month and a half. And they go, oh, okay, well, I have one client say, can you recommend another company?
Yeah.
And I turned around and said, no, but if you do find another company that can do this within the next week, then there's a serious problem.
That's true.
Because why do they not have enough work? And then I just sort of walk away, and they usually get a phone call or an email the next day going, yeah, that's fine, we'll happily wait.
But you're in that kind of situation. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know. If you come across someone that's quite busy, that means they're obviously doing a good enough job that they've got enough clients that, you know what I mean?
Right.
And
right.
yes, I know,
absolutely.
There's that thing of, someone might be new in the business and they're still trying to establish that client base. I get that. But yeah. I guess you ask for proof of work, really. Not testimonials. I don't like testimonials.
But yeah, you just say, what else have you done? Blah blah blah. Hey, that's legitimate.
Yeah, and it's a completely different sort of industry. But in my industry, we have a lot of prestigious private schools, and that can be a marker of your quality of work. So when I have a new client ask me, what other schools have you done, and I rattle off 4 of the 8 private schools in this state. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll go with you. That's yeah. And I think that's the same with writing, really. You want to know, I don't know, if you can ask an editor, what books have you edited? Can I seek them out?
Yeah, and ask them for referrals. Absolutely. And I have a list, and I fire it off to anybody who wants to know. I have no problem with that at all. And that's another thing. If you're looking for an editor, you meet up with one, or you see them on the internet and you ask the question, hey, can I contact, some of your former clients? And they say no.
Yeah, that's not a good sign.
That is not a good sign. I'm going to go right over. I'm going to take the big leap and call it a bad sign.
Yeah. But also, though, on other successful things, if you came across somebody who said, what works have you edited that are out there that I can go and read to see how they are? And they go, oh, yeah, I edited 50 Shades of Grey. Nope.
I don't think anybody edited 50 Shades of Grey.
Well, if that editor is listening, you're a bad person.
And must be spanked. There you go.
Well, that's a different show altogether. All right. So we got some notes here. Sort of going through. Oh, yeah. Stuff we've learned over the last 3 rough draft years. Use your own name. We're very against. Well, different names, author names, writing names. Use your real name. And I understand that there are some people, like if you're writing erotica and then all of a sudden you switch to sci-fi, you don't want to have them cross over. But then I think it doesn't really bother me.
And it doesn't matter anymore. I mean, I've had this conversation with writers, and we've had them on the show, and it's annoying as all get out. And I did one. Romance writers are this is something they really do. I was trying to match up 1099 forms for a romance anthology for a client, and not a single author had used her real name, and you can't find her real name easily. So it was a big pain in the ass. And I thought, seriously, you need to have more transparency than this, because people will hunt you down regardless.
Yes.
And then or people who say, oh, should I have like multiple Twitter accounts so that each of my books will have a Twitter account, and then, or each of my personas will have a Twitter account? And I'm like, yeah, if you don't want to leave the house, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, that's like a lot of work.
Oh my God.
But look,
they'll find you anyway. I mean, Anne Rice has a new book out, one of her erotic books, her beauty series, which is like 1,000%, although it's not saying much, but it's 1,000% better than 50 Shades of Grey. And it's got Anne Rice across the top writing as, and then her pseudonym, I think it's Rockford or Roquefort, which is what she started out with years ago. But now, what is she selling? Her name. Do we all know who wrote it? Yes, we do. So it's almost pointless to say, oh, and then here's her pen name. Aren't we being tricky?
If you choose a pen name and you're going to come on our show, can you please set up an email that has your pen name and not use your real name? Because we've had that a couple of times.
And then we're really confused. And you don't want to confuse readers, and you certainly don't want to confuse podcast producers and shows, because that just pisses us off, and then we'll talk about you. Don't do that.
There's nothing like having someone email you and it's like, they doing the pre-show like, hi Jenny, blah blah blah. And it's like, well, actually, my pen name is Sparkles. I'd prefer to use Sparkles. And you're like, okay. And you jump into the show and you're like, welcome to Newbie Writers Podcast. We've got a special guest, Jenny, on today. And
then she has to correct us and say, no, actually, it's Sparkles. And you're just like, oh, seriously?
Like, oh, right. Why'd you choose that name? Well, sorry, Jenny. So, yes. I don't know. We've never had anyone called Sparkles on the show yet. I want to know if there is. I think I've lost.
Which?
Yeah. I want to know if anyone, how do you come up with those pen names? I
don't know. I do the same way. You know how they say to find your stripper name, you give the name of the street you grew up with and the name of your first pet, and that's your stripper name. I mean, I just wonder if people do the same thing with their pen names.
Right. So then, okay. Well, let's do that then. I grew up I had two houses when we were growing up. One of them would be my name would be Daily Fred.
There you go.
Get your dollar bills out. Daily Fred doesn't work for free, gents. Yeah. Imagine that. The other one.
Considering my dad called our cat silly ass, it would not work out for me at all.
Yeah. Well, we lived the other street was Sandpiper Place. It was on the beach. Imagine that.
You Sandpiper or Sand.
Yeah. Sandy Piper coming out.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm here all week. Jesus. Anyway.
See how it can go?
Yeah, I know. I think yeah, that should be right. So on this book, we need to put my pen name. Catherine Brankham and Sandy Piper have teamed up.
I'm making that really small. That's going to be 4-point font in front of the book.
I think I'll thank that person in the front cover. So it's like, you'll thank Andrew and all the listeners and that sort of stuff, and I'll thank Sandy.
Sandy Piper.
Yeah. And Sharon's like, who's Sandy Piper? I'll be like, that's me. I got 2 shout outs. Yeah. So I know now. I feel a bit more relaxed now that if this all falls to crap, then I can go and be a stripper.
There you go.
Yeah.
You've got plan B. I've always liked to have plan B.
Yeah, and if Nathan Weaver was doing my, write-up, it'd be like 300-pound Sandy Piper's coming out. Anyway.
He's big. He's cute. He's ready.
And he's slightly balding. Yeah. It's just gone.
Yeah, you would be quite the routine. I can see that.
I think don't write like we talk. Damien's got no filter. Yes. We also found out we had Rachel Neighbours on. She said, don't do what you love, which I agree. Don't do what you love. It'll destroy you.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
I
you
thought she
agree?
was an interesting comment, and she did what she loved, and it she couldn't sustain it, and her Waterloo was she was doing what she loved. She was creating comics and more manga kind of work, and doing really well and having a great time. Fell ill and had no health insurance. And it was just like, and in the US, you have to work to get health insurance. That's the weird thing we've coupled. And
Yes.
she had skills, and that from doing what she loved. So she took them and parlayed them into a legitimate job so that she could get the coverage, the medical coverage that she needed. And there's a whole lot of things to say about, making a person do that. But she's fine. And she says, then, and here's something else too. Switching from doing what you love to making what you love make money can be a huge disconnect. I talked to a gentleman who had just opened up a winery, and I said, "Oh, that is so exciting! How do you like it? How is it?" And he said, "It is not fun anymore."
No.
When I was making it as a amateur, like what my husband does, I loved it, and it was fun, and it was cool. And then I switched it to a professional, and it got to be immediately annoying.
It will, because there's another angle to it.
Yeah.
Because when you do this, and it's like writing too, it's a very fine line, because once you've got your book written, it's a product. So then you need to put that out there. So you become a business. And I don't care how small it'll be. If you've printed them off on your printer and wasted all that paper and you hand it out to friends, it's still a product. You're peddling some product. Or if you put it up on the internet as a PDF, it's still a product. So then it takes away that hobby aspect, because when you do a hobby, there's no, it's not consequence, but there's no time frames on anything. It's not, you don't have to do it. So if you're doing it for an hour and then you decide, well, I've had enough of doing this, you can just stop, and it's not going to affect the world at all. You can go and do something else. You can pack up that box of crochet that you thought was a wild idea after watching some TV show. You can put that away and go and do something else, like fishing. But if you've got a product and you make it, you go, this is going to be my business, you can't just stop doing that. It will always be there.
Going. And there's many, many books, and we've had them on the show, many, many books and advice on how to build your business as a writer. I picked up, there's an interesting book called Building Your Business the Right Brain Way. So it's how to build a business as a creative. There's a lot of pictures in this. Very helpful for those of us who are like not necessarily Excel spreadsheet oriented. So there are many, 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 many ideas and help. And the fact that there is so much out there about, how to build your business, how to be, how to turn your book into a business. The fact that there's a massive market for that is very telling.
I think so.
Clearly, we don't know how to do it, and so we need to buy all these books and go to all these conferences and try to figure this out. Well, if that's fun and satisfying, excellent. If what you really want to do, and I ask this, I absolutely ask this of my clients, what do you really want out of this? Do you want to just have finished something because the creative process brings another dimension to your life? Then let's do it that way.
Yeah, I think though with writing, it's such it can be, because I'm not going to say it is a solo effort. That's crap. People do collaborations all the time, but on the whole, it's you sitting here typing. What really helps when it comes to a business side of things is having someone that likes doing the numbers. So, like the other day, Sharon does all of my accounting stuff, right? Because I can do it, but it doesn't really thrill me that much. She was doing it the other day on like a Saturday night. And I said, what are you doing? She goes, I'm just balancing this and this. I'm future forecasting for the business. I go, really? I'm about to watch a movie. And she's like, yeah. But she said, I find this enjoyable. So you need to find someone that is happy to do that. So when it comes to the business, like with your winemaker friend, he's doing all of the bits. You've got to balance the books. You've got to, follow the accounts. Is it profitable to be doing this? Because hobbies aren't profitable. You spend money on it. You don't get anything in return, but you need to, in a business, sell it, make, money back, cover your costs. So I find that works. I'm the creative type in my business. And, I've said to Sharon, I like being out there talking to the clients, doing this, creating things and designing stuff.
Right.
You can just make sure that I've given you the receipts and we're not going poor. So
right. It's still making the mortgage. Woo! Let's try that. Yeah.
And it seems to, and I think you're in that same situation.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, I definitely, I have, Andrew has forecasted, we've got, the 5-year plan on an Excel spreadsheet. And we only have a challenge during taxes because he just looks at me and he says, you can't make numbers up. Why not? This is about what I did. What?
Yeah. Exactly.
And we have it every year. It's not, I don't learn.
Neither do I.
I do not learn. The poor man said the other day, says, now, have you been keeping up on your Excel spreadsheet for 2015? And I'd said, sure.
Sure. Give me a bottle of wine in an hour and I'll get back to you. Yeah.
That's exactly it. It is not what I do. I am just getting into the habit of looking at our analytics because I'm working on social media and tracking it and making more sense out of it. That's different for me. And so I need to work on it and create a habit out of it so that I can make that happen, because otherwise I am definitely one of those divergent creatives. Oh, look, shiny object and I'm gone.
Yes, I'm a little bit like that. But I think that's the thing, it extends far beyond, and that's what we try and convey to newbies, not to put them off or anything, but it's all good. You can go through the process, you can write your book, we can tell you as much as possible, just do this, you've got to do it, you've got to sit down, blah, 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 blah. But once you've got it, then it's not finished. But to some it might be.
To some it might be. And that's what, and they print for on CreateSpace. Or lulu.com. There's, again, lots of options, and that's what we can tell you. And you have a book on the shelf, that can be the end product. That can be it. It doesn't have to be a bestseller. And in fact, being a best-selling author does not make you thinner or younger. Sorry, it doesn't even get you dates. So you have to look at what is it that you want to do. And I think that sometimes with writing, we have this assumption. People have an assumption. I don't, but people say, oh, are you selling well? Just because you did it doesn't mean you have to sell well. It's like, if you like to knit sweaters for your family, knit sweaters for your family. You don't have to be a sensation on Etsy. No. You can just do that much. And I think we've monetized so much of our lives that it kills the creativity, and we should be able to be creative without any outcome at all.
Yeah. But then, people like me, I'm always thinking of ways that, you can, I don't know. Yeah, you can knit sweaters, or you see someone like in the family that does that. Have you ever considered, how much does that cost you if you've sold them for X amount? You'd actually
right. Oh no, it's what people fall into all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm advocating for just being the creative and just being creative.
Right. Well, good luck with that.
Yeah. Thanks.
Now, I throw it out there to those people listening. Just give us some feedback. What do you think? What have you learned over the last 3 years? You don't have to have been listening for 3 years. Even if you've come to this show like last week and you're catching up, what have you learned straight off the bat? And if it's, that my accent is not English, awesome. It's better than Swahili. It's easily understandable. I don't see the problem. So if that's what you've taken from our show, please let us know. That's what I want to include as well. I want some feedback. Yeah. Now, we've got show notes with lists of people that we've had on that we've thought, influenced us in some way, or they've given some interesting tips. So you'll see all that up on the website.
Yep.
We should probably do.
And we'll put it in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I like having a book project. I love that part.
So we should probably do like a word of the week, do all the usual stuff.
Do the usual. We can do anything we want to. It's just us. But our guests are very cooperative, I have to say.
Yes, it's been good. All right, word a day. Or word of week. Word of the week from a word a day.
Word of the day.
God, that's going to get a mouthful. This is probably in 3 years the shortest word we've ever had. I don't think it even constitutes a word. It's got 2 letters, and it's OS. OS. Meaning a mouth or an orifice. And the other meaning is a bone. Now, those 2 sentences should not go together, firstly. Those meanings.
No. That's true. I hadn't thought about that, but no.
a bone and a mouth and an orifice. We're getting into some very strange things, and I don't know. No one has ever. That would come up as a type. It was coming up as a typo on my screen. OS.
Oh yeah, same here. It's all red. But I like that the Latin is os for bone. That's where the bone comes from. And if you think about it, ossified, ossification. There right off the top is that turning things hard like a bone.
Yes, but then if you went into the doctor and you said, "I think I've broken an os," he'd be like, "What?" It's like, oh.
Yeah, we don't do that when we go to the doctor. We say we don't feel well. Guess.
Yeah.
You're the doctor. Tell me.
And then they say, "Have you got insurance?" Or they would in your country. You're like, "No." "Oh, well, I can't guess. Get out."
No, sorry, we can't fix you. Yeah, that's right.
We don't have that here. All right, let's do a tortured sentence.
Next time, don't put the wrong emphasis on the right syllable. Tortured sentences.
I will say that it was asked of me where that tortured sentence came from, or how it was put together, and I did mention that I pulled the initial screams and sound effect from, I don't know, some random YouTube video from a movie of someone being dropped in a vat of hot oil. And I did the rest. And to be having the response from that person of, now I know that it's someone being dropped in a vat of hot oil, that's even worse.
Even worse. What delicate flower did we have on this show?
It's good. I'd like to push the boundaries. Now, this comes from Personal Finance,
Toronto Globe and Mail.
Why are you reading the Personal Finance? That sounds really boring. That's the sort of stuff you see in like doctor surgeries on the table. Personal Finance.
Yeah. But it's just a really good sentence. So you want to read it? It's an excellent sentence.
Okay. If both of you do not consent to an automatic split, the spouse who belongs to the pension plan will retain the whole pension. You are then limited to trading off other assets like spouses in British Columbia, Alberta. And how many spouses does this person need?
Exactly. Trading up other assets like spouses in British Columbia, Alberta, and Newfoundland.
Right.
Newfoundland. I love that. I love that. That's That's what happens when you don't pay attention. You're all worked up about the first sentence, the automatic split, who belongs to the pension. And then you forget that you have spouses in all these other countries.
So is this the Personal Finance review written by the Sultan of Brunei?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Multiple wives.
Multiple wives.
I think. Look, I don't know how anyone can have multiple partners, especially multiple wives. What a pain in the neck.
Oh, totally. There's a comedian who I really like, Kathleen Madigan, and she makes a comment about the multiple wives, and she said, "Well, sure, you have these guys who have, 7, 8 wives, and they're all like 17 years old and dressed in their little house on the prairie costumes." Because I want to see one of these guys take on me, herself, and 10 of my friends. Now let's see how tough you are.
Exactly. I'd like to see it more realistic, with the 6 wives all saying to him at the same time, "You just haven't paid any attention to me." Or,
right. You don't listen anymore.
Yeah. "Where have you been? We had dinner organized. You're late."
Yep. I don't even, my husband does the same. He just shakes his head. It's like, who would do that on purpose?
I know. Well, yes. And it's like there's the religious side of things where people say there's certain angle of religion that says when you die, you'll go up to heaven and be greeted by like 50 virgins. Wow. What a trouble that would be.
Same thing. You don't pay any attention to me. We don't talk anymore.
Yes. You need to love me first. I don't want to go to heaven and meet 50 virgins. I want to meet 50 filthy ladies. Anyway.
Is that some people with experience?
Yes. I want to, yes. We're going now. Let's do a prompt. Prompt. What is the best advice you've ever had? Do you even remember it? Well, if you don't remember it, it wasn't very good advice. Who delivered it? How was it delivered? If you were to give your younger self some advice, what would it be? I don't know. Best advice. I've ever had. The best advice I ever had was someone that was like my senior on a job said to me, I'd rather you ask a dumb question than make a dumb mistake.
Oh, that is good advice.
And that's something that I've sort of kept with me forever. And I say that to then, juniors or whoever I take on. And so you can ask me as many dumb questions as you like, because I'd rather you ask them than make a dumb or stupid mistake.
Totally. I don't think that there is a dumb question. And a lot of children growing up feel as if they're dumb questions. So, they'll ask a question and the parent will say, well, everybody knows that, or, that's not a good question. And I think that we should all ask dumb questions. We should all ask questions that seem very obvious because they're not. And we should say, well, wait a minute, what about this? Oh, well, everybody knows about that. Well, that's when you start getting into trouble where you need to ask the question.
Yes. And it's also that other thing of when someone says, oh, well, that was common sense. And I remember hearing someone on the radio say, yes, but common sense is subjective. What's common sense to me might not be common sense to you. So how can you say that? It's like if someone decides to drive a car off a bridge. It's like, well, that would be common sense not to do that. Yeah, but it wasn't to him. He thought that was a good idea.
Mm-hmm. So, anybody who's ever had teenage boys can tell you that common sense is a very flexible concept.
And what is with the term common sense anyway? Does it mean everyone's thinking the same? Oh,
yes.
That's common.
Yeah. Common sense where you've learned enough, or you've been in a culture long enough so that there are common wisdom is another good word, where we all know the story of the flood, for instance, or you all have assumptions about the shared religion in the society. That would be considered the common sense. And the challenge is, of course, you have the common sense, and then you have that outlier comes in, or a child who's very precocious and says, well, why is that? And people don't like to be called on common sense things, or because they'll say because, or this is the way we've always done it. And we don't live right now in a society where we can do things the way we've always done them.
No, and if you were living in the medieval times, well, being a commoner is not a good thing.
But it was popular. I almost feel like a commoner now. We don't have any classes in the U.S. except for the two we have.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The very wealthy and the rest of us.
Right. And then
I'm feeling more like a commoner every day, especially when I fly coach.
Yeah. Oh, those commoners. I've had to sit with the commoners today.
To sit with the little people. Oh, my God.
The little people. There's nothing wrong with the little people. I like the little people. So, okay, if you were to give your younger self some advice, what would it be?
When you drop your baby on his head, he won't necessarily die.
Oh. Hey, hang on. What?
I didn't drop. Thomas knocked himself out of my arms because he's a squiggly baby. Smacked right on his head. Of course he landed on his big round head. I was so freaked out. New mother, first baby. And, called up the pediatrician, and, he's crying, and the pediatrician, I'm sure, there's a woman who's like in her 50s on the phone talking to this 20 something saying, is he crying, sweetie? Yeah, he's crying. Then he's fine. What?
Right. So now
I damaged him forever. I just know it.
You have two boys. Which of the ones that you knocked out, he didn't become the physicist though, did he?
No, he didn't. Right. So I am wondering about that.
Just to throw that out there.
I didn't drop the physicist.
Right. Well, look, we've all done it. I know that there was a time when I think we were out to dinner and Julian was wriggling around and he slipped out of Sharon's arms and cracked his head on the side of a very heavy, ornate table.
Yeah.
And he went down. It was just screaming. But that was a rush to the hospital, big lump on his head. See his face go cross-eyed for a minute.
Oh, that is so scary. That is so scary. Thomas obviously is my moving child. Michael just watches Thomas and didn't do it. He was much smarter even as a small child. And Thomas was standing up in the grocery cart, flipped out of the grocery cart. Just as I was about to say, don't do that, you will fly. There you go.
I don't know. What would I do to my younger self? Advice is give to younger self, I'd be like, hi, I'm you. What are you doing in my shower? No.
There's a lot of good science fiction that's written that way. There's a couple of new films out where a guy keeps meeting himself, and he goes to this perpetual round there. I've forgotten the name of it.
I don't know. I've never been one to sort of regret the past, though. So any decision I've made, I'm making this decision for a reason. So I don't know if I could give any advice to me. Be like, carry on. Maybe you should go and talk to that girl. I don't know.
Change everything.
I don't think it'd be worth it. I've been happy with how things are. Anyway.
There you go.
All right.
There you go. So everything's good. You wouldn't give yourself any advice. But you can think about it in terms of your fictional character. What would happen if they had different advice? How would that change things? So there's a lot of considerations.
All right. Well, I think that'll do for this week. Have we got anyone on next week?
We do.
Ooh.
We do. Well, first, I do have a shout out, and you don't have it on the notes because it just happened. But one of our guests, Stephanie O'Hanlon.
Yes.
O'Hanlon. Her new book, The Beast of Bradley Downs. It's a new adult werewolf horror paranormal. There's lots of things to this book. It's just out with I think with Damnation Press. And so you can check it out on Amazon. And I thought I'd give her a shout out for that because she was such a good guest for us.
Yep. Sounds good. I don't have.
And we are going next week. We're going to have Catherine Grubb, who writes. She has a book, and I read it. How to write your book in 10 minutes a day. Not write a book in 10 minutes, but 10 minutes a day, right to getting to a book. So we're going to find out how to do this in a very, very small amount of time. And that's who our guest is next week.
Amazing. Well, I'm going to grill the crap out of her then, because I'm going to know how that's done.
I thought you might. I gave her a warning.
Yes. Don't write like we talk, and him.
Yes. Like we talk.
All right. Well, that'll do it for this week. Yes. Again, podcast at newbiewriters.com. If you've got anything that you think you've learned or you've discovered from our show that we've missed, please let us know. So until next week, we'll see you then.
Okay. See you then.
Your book starts here on the Newbie Writers Podcast.